In a universe, we can transform into anything you wish, whether it is a cottagecore enthusiast whose biggest desire is to disappear into the woods, or the academia student devoted to classic literature and iced coffee. Or how about the clean girl who wakes up at 5 a.m. every morning to drink her green smoothie? Maybe the manic pixie dream girl everyone is head over heels for. With all of these choices, why would you settle for just being yourself? Consider the countless of online quizzes designed to find your quote perfect aesthetics, or the thousands of social media users meticulously crafting their lives to fit this specific color palette, this specific set of hobbies, or just this specific image. It all just boils down to this very question. Why do we feel compelled to fit ourselves into, or at least present ourselves as these neatly packaged, easily digestible labels? Most of the time, an aesthetic is not just a style or a fashion statement, but it is a complete lifestyle. It's no longer restricted to the way you look or the clothing you put on, but the music you listen to, the people you hang out with, your daily routine, your beliefs, the type of media you consume, just your overall way of life. Take, for example, the dark academia aesthetic. It's not just about the vintage blazers, plaid skirts, and leather bound journals. It also includes a deep immersion in classic literature, a love for intellectual pursuits. You can't just dress like them, you have to be like them. Similarly, if you're adopting the clean girl aesthetic, it can't just be slick back hair and minimalist makeup. It seeps into your daily habits and lifestyle choices. Once again, you can't just dress like them. You have to act and be like them. They're not just categorizing you by the products you own or buy, but they're also prescribing you what you should do, watch, read, and listen to be able to fully embody that specific persona. In this way, aesthetics not only define how you present yourself, but it provides an entire blueprint for how you should live. To the point where it gets hard to differentiate when it's your personal choice and when are you doing something just to conform to that aesthetic's expectations. Before we do dive deeper, I do have to clarify that I am in no means trying to bash aesthetics or to say that aesthetics promote unhealthy habits. Most of the time, aesthetics are quite fun and innocent. In fact, they can often be a way for you to find your personal style and test and experiment what ways or what style best fits you to express yourself. None of these things are bad in any way, shape, or form. However, as somebody who also engages with aesthetics, I like looking at pretty things. I'm instead curious to just consider why is it such a big deal, especially among teenagers or young adults, to find an aesthetic, to label themselves in a specific aesthetic. What compels us to define ourselves into these labels, these aesthetics, and when does this pursuit become excessive? And lastly, why is it sometimes easier to just copy and paste an already beloved aesthetic instead of going through the process of trying to discover yourself? These are the questions that I hope to unpack today as we explore this dynamic between aesthetics and self identity. According to most psychologists, the desire to belong is a fundamental part of human nature. From an evolutionary perspective, our ancestors thrived in group, relying on cooperation and social bonds for protection, resource sharing, and raising offspring. This intrinsic need for connection is reflected in various theories of psychology, including Maslow's hierarchy of needs, which positions love and belonging as crucial to achieving self actualization. There are many ways they phrase this, but this really just boils down to one quote by Powell Bloom. Humans are social beings, and we are happier and better when connected with others. In other words, it's natural for us to want to express ourselves in a way that resonates with others. And aesthetics can be a powerful tool for that. Shared aesthetics can create a sense of belonging and community. It becomes a medium for individuals with similar interests to connect with each other with more ease. Not just that, but they provide this common visual language that people of that community can instantly resonate with. This language can include specific colors, specific elements, a specific style pattern. For example, Consider a collage featuring pictures like a green forest, someone reading a book while laying on grass, a picnic with beautiful flowers all around, and a cozy house in between it all. You're most likely gonna associate that with the cottagecore aesthetic. When people encounter these elements in another person's Instagram feed, they may immediately recognize them as part of the cottagecore world and think, oh, you're into cottagecore too. By doing so, not only do you affirm your own interests, but you establish a connection with that said person because you both appreciate the same style. Besides fostering a sense of belonging and community, participating in already beloved and popular aesthetics can actually enhance social validations. Going back to the Instagram example, the positive feedback can come in various forms, such as likes, comments, or verbal praises because of the aesthetic. When people see that their choice of aesthetic resonates with a large group of people, it feels good. It affirms that you made the right choice. It validates your place in that specific aesthetic and it strengthens your own personal identity. This also means that choosing to participate in already beloved aesthetic can mitigate negative judgment. But that is not to say that there is no negative judgment, because when a specific aesthetic becomes very popular, we can always see individuals trying to gatekeep it. This is best observed over the beloved God aesthetic. Although this was something that you were ridiculed for participating in a few years back, a few decades back, nowadays it has become quite mainstream. Some celebrate this surge of new followers, while others see this as an opportunity to define who's a real God follower, and who's not. You can't just dress in a God inspired style. You have to be clear about God history, about God music, about God culture. That is the only way you can legitimately claim the label. Ultimately, to seek to belong and to crave self validation is normal and part of the human process, human development, and it is especially seen through adolescence and young adulthood. This can be attributed to many different factors, such as the ongoing brain development, the importance of peer relationships during that specific period, and the critical process of identity formation. Eric Homburger Erickson was an American child psychoanalyst known for his theory on the psychosocial development of human beings. According to him, we experience 8 stages of development over our lifespan, from infancy to late adulthood. At each stage, there is a conflict or task that needs to be resolved. Among the stages, Erickson emphasized the need of identity during adolescence formation. During this phase, individuals seek to find a stable sense of self. He defines this development phase as a conflict between identity and role confusion. This stage involves exploring various aspects of the self, such as your personal interests, your hobbies, your style, your values, your beliefs, your goals, and roles in society. This also includes curating your digital presence to be able to express yourself better. In the age of social media, digital identity plays a crucial role in self identity construction, as it allows individuals to present and curate their personas in various online platforms. The concept of digital identity refers to the persona an individual creates and presents through their online interactions and activities. This persona can be significantly different from their offline identity, as individuals often select which aspects of themselves to highlight or conceal based on the audience they are addressing. For instance, research by Kim and Johnson shows that users on platforms like Instagram often construct identities that emphasize their aesthetic sensibilities and lifestyle choices to attract followers and gain social validation. With a digital persona, not only do you shape how others perceive you, but also how you perceive yourself. Let's say you want to fit into the wanderlust aesthetic. You will start traveling and posting pictures of yourself doing so. Online, you present yourself to be an adventurous individual, so when others click on your profile, they will engage with you with that profile in mind. As you continue to create this content, not only are you going to attract similar individuals, which will further reinforce it, but by constantly engaging with this persona, you're reinforcing that identity within you. Of course, that is not to say that there is anything wrong with that. Exploring various different internet aesthetics can help you find one that truly resonates with yourself. However, The line is crossed when you go from trying to curate your Instagram feed to trying to mold and curate yourself to fit your Instagram feed. The curated self, also often referred to as the virtual self, is basically the intentional construction and presentation of specific aspects of one identity, particularly in an online environment such as social media. Or, in other words, it is a filtered version of a specific person, the version of themselves that is shaved down to showcase specific traits, characteristics, and lifestyle. Consider an influencer or Instagram user whose main aesthetic or identity, online identity, revolves around the dark academia aesthetic. While this aesthetic might have generally resonated with their love for history and literature, the pressure to maintain this image online could lead to them to downplay or even hide other aspects of their personality that don't fit into the dark academia mold. They might suppress their love for other activities such as pop culture or young adult books, fearing that these interests would clash with the carefully curated intellectual persona they have established online. Or with the that girl aesthetic, which mainly revolves around this health conscious, productivity focused individual. While this aesthetic can be inspiring and promote healthy habits, it can also become constricting when someone feels a need to mold their entire personality based on this aspect of themselves. One might generally enjoy some aspects of the that girl aesthetic, such as exercising regularly or eating healthy. However, in their pursuit to maintain this aesthetic consistently, they might suppress other parts of their personality that don't fit with the that girl mold, such as their love for indulging in hobbies that don't align with the hyperproductive wellness focused image, like gaming late at night or enjoying comfort food. Even if they don't need to showcase their off days to their followers, the inability to keep presenting or performing this created version of themselves can create the sense of imposter. This all leads to a form of self censorship where individuals would hide aspects of themselves or despise aspects of themselves that do not align with the chosen aesthetic. When their identity is too closely aligned with a specific aesthetic, their self esteem, their self confidence might depend on how well they're able to keep performing that way. Initially, this might seem like a very straightforward process. I mean, the rules are already laid out. You just have to follow them. For example, the streetwear aesthetic. It's pretty straightforward. Oversized clothing, graphic tees, sneakers, and accessories like caps and backpacks following specific brands, engaging with street art and music. The appeal lies in the simplicity and familiarity these predefined categories already follow. We can see this often in social media users when they are increasingly eager to label or categorize everything the second it goes viral because of their clothing or lifestyle. Most people will comment, "What is this aesthetic? What is this aesthetic called? How can I participate in this aesthetic?" Or "I wish I had this aesthetic." This can also be seen as a product of too much information overload that is natural on social media. Whenever you open any app, you're instantly bombarded with thousands of new content curated to fit your specific needs. Labeling things can also help sort its relevance and see how important it can be to you. While curated aesthetics can be seen as the easier path, after all, it is much more easier to just adhere to a set of external expectations rather than going through the process of exploring and uncovering personal interests, values, and nuances. This shift from personal exploration to conformity means that identity formation becomes more about fitting into an existing mold rather than about genuine personal growth. By adopting an established aesthetic, individuals might inevitably suppress their unique qualities and personal preferences that fall outside the boundaries of the chosen style. Or, in other words, you sacrifice yourself for the sake of maintaining an image. A fleeting image at that, because we know how fast trends come and go. What is considered trendy today may just become outdated tomorrow. This impermanence means that this image that individuals try hard to strive for is just short lived. This just leads to an endless cycle of reinvention where individuals feel the need to constantly change their appearance or behaviors to match what is relevant. Now it's your time to answer the questions. Do you think we're choosing styles because it generally resonates with us, or is it just something to fill a void? Is it more about experimentation and self discovery, or is it an attempt to become a version of ourselves that we are sure others will like? Whether it is the coquette aesthetic or the dark academia or the clean girl aesthetic, the question still remains. Are we seeking to be loved for who we are right now, or are we hoping that fitting into a specific aesthetic will bring us the approval we crave? The need to maintain a specific online persona is exhausting, not only because you constantly need to adhere to little specific details and constantly need to adhere to a specific lifestyle, but because here's the thing. We're humans. Humans are inherently complex, multidimensional beings with ever changing moods, interests, and desires. Unlike the static, polished images that can be easily created online, real life is messy, unpredictable, and full of contradictions. Trying to fit the fullness of our human experience into a narrow aesthetic box is not just exhausting, but ultimately impossible. The created online persona in life may seem appealing because it offers a sense of security. Now, you already know what to wear, what to listen to, who to watch, what to buy, and all of these or behaviors that are already verified that if you do this correctly, if you participate in this specific aesthetic correctly, you will be loved, you'll be validated. People will start respecting you, validating you, etc. I have to admit, it sounds safe, even comforting. Yet by doing so, we limit our capacity to experiment and evolve, which is part of the human experience. Embracing the full spectrum of the human experience, both online and offline, is much more sustainable in the long run. After all, humans aren't static, and we shouldn't feel the need to be. So, why should we squeeze ourselves into these little boxes? They'll never be able to fully grasp us. Yes, it is tempting to follow the trendy aesthetics because you see the validation that comes with it, but that is just as fleeting as the trend itself. So of course, the issue is not the aesthetic itself, right? It's issues within the community, but it's not to say that aesthetics are bad. There's always issue with any social media trend, any social media community. We are just using aesthetic as a way to draw attention or express things that have already been prevalent in our society way before aesthetics even existed. Having all of that said, having all of that said, what's your aesthetic?